Hi, good evening. Is my hair all right? It's 7 p.m. I guess we can get started. I have a quorum. Not really any items I expect to vote on tonight, but this is the November 2025 meeting of Advisory Neighborhood Commission 1C's Alcoholic Beverage Control and Public Safety Committee. First item on the agenda is an officer update on public safety and Adams Morgan. So we'll have them promoted and just get right to it. Welcome. How are you doing?
Hey, good
Hey,
afternoon or evening.
good evening.
So, how's it going? I guess kind of a continuation last month is what we try to be. Just so since the last meeting last month, anything that you can share, updates, and we can maybe ask some questions.
Sure. Nothing crazy updates. Um, I'm sure people have questions about 2 or 3 nights ago on Columbia Road, unless they don't. But if they do, um, there's no major updates. We haven't had any crazy crime sprees or notable violent crime. There was a person committing a few burglaries in 1C on Biltmore, 1832 Biltmore. We have him identified. We're writing a warrant for his arrest. We've been looking for him for like a week now. We haven't been able to find him. But as soon as we locate him, he will be placed under arrest for probably 4 burglaries. Um, 3 in the 3rd district and then 1 in the 2nd district. Um, so we have him identified. We're just trying to locate him and wait for the warrant to be finalized. So that's good news. Other than that, I don't really have much. This is not much new stuff to talk about.
That's helpful. The Columbia Road, I feel like can you refresh my memory what that you're referring to? I think I
Yeah,
saw.
so 2 nights ago. Yeah, 2 nights ago. So the other issue that has been reported to us numerous times a day, almost sometimes, at least once a day to us and the Adams Morgan bid, is the guys who hang out on scooters in the alley, the West Alley, 2400 block of 18th Street between 18th and Columbia. We get complaints. We haven't today or the day before, but before that, literally every day, text tips, 911 calls, them revving their engines, doing wheelies, urinating, trash,
Scooters.
scooters being loud, smoking, drinking, just the gamut of general, disorderly type, nothing crazy, violent, crime, but just kind of, blocking cars that are trying to get in the alley to their houses or whatever. So anyway, every time an officer tries to approach them, they always run immediately. So we haven't had many opportunities to actually talk with them and be like, hey, you guys could just stop hanging out here. Like you can hang out other places, you just can't hang out in this alley. And we actually had a conversation with them last week with the help of Omar, the public safety ambassador from the bid.
Yeah.
And we had like a full-on like 10-minute back and forth with him as a translator, explaining to them like the calls we've been getting, why they keep hanging out in this alley, all the issues that they've been causing, all this other stuff, giving them alternative places to go. They, nodded as if they understood, but the next day they were back in the alley, or the second day they were back in the alley doing the same thing. So our crime suppression team went up there 2 nights ago, and they actually just have the amount of officers available to actually stop them before they run, because there's 3 exits to the alley.
Mhm.
So they finally had enough resources available to stop them. We stopped 3 in the alley. 1 fled. The 3 that we had stopped, 1 was arrested for possession of crack cocaine. The 2
Yeah.
others were actually taken into custody by federal agents who were with our crime suppression team. My assumption is immigration related things. Um, those guys weren't really the issue. The issue was the 3 guys who fled onto the fire escape at 1840 Columbia. They scaled the fire escape, tried to get into one lady's apartment on the 5th floor. They were knocking on her door trying to get in. She said no, slammed the door, called 911 to report a burglary in progress. Then they broke the window to the adjacent apartment, broke into that apartment, and then out that door into the apartment building. So now at this point, we have 3 people on the loose who just broke into the apartment building. We searched the apartment building. We couldn't locate them. Staircase, the garage, the floors, knocked on people's doors. We couldn't locate them. 2 hours later, they actually ran out the front door and fled on a scooter because someone in the apartment building gave them, safe passage, safe haven, whatever you want to call it. Someone opened the door for them and let them hang out in their apartment for 2 hours until most of us left, and then they left. So at the end of the day, we had some arrests, federal agents took some, and then the 3 that broke into the apartment building fled. We were trying to identify them, and we took a report for destruction of property and unlawful entry for that. And the luckiest thing of the whole thing is that nobody was even home in that apartment. It belongs to a gentleman who's traveling often. He's not often home. So it just happened to work out that that's the one they broke into. I don't know what would happen if, or even think about, what would happen if that was an occupied apartment. But thank God it wasn't. And so there's a little damage to the window. We also recovered 5 scooters. 1 was stolen. The other 4 were not properly tagged. It was either the tag didn't belong to the scooter, or it was a tag for something completely different, or whatever. So none of them were legit scooters. But that's essentially what happened. And the reason I bring it up is because it garnered a decent number of people out there yelling about ICE and yelling at us and our officers and wanting to look what was happening. And I try to dialogue with those who would with me. And I was there until like 10 p.m. Like I said, talking to people, trying to explain the situation. Why we were there was because of all the complaints we get. And then obviously people have concerns about the agents in masks. And what those was the agents that come to pick up the individuals from the federal agents. There was like 2 guys that had masks on, and then they quickly left. The agents that are with us on the task force in the 3rd district, they don't have masks on. And so there was a brief moment in time where there were a few people with masks, and so that aggravated it even more. But then they left, and so then it just kind of became a people voicing their opinion on what they think about immigration enforcement and everything else, which is fine, whatever. But that's kind of what happened. They happened now in the past 2 days.
You said 1840 was the
Yeah, I believe it was 1840 Columbia. It's the through line
Yeah, it's 1840.
business
Yeah.
is, I think, technically 1838, but it's the same building.
Yeah.
It's the through line
Okay.
with
Yeah,
the
that makes
line and
sense.
then apartments above it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for opening that up. Commissioner Bauk, do you have any questions or comments? I'm still kind of, I hadn't heard all
Yeah,
the details, so I'm still kind of
Yeah,
processing.
that's kind of
yeah.
what happened.
I appreciate you going through the details of that event. I was not aware of it, and I know that it's my understanding MPD really has no control over what the feds do.
Correct. I mean,
You're just sort of stuck babysitting them, frankly.
we work with them as we always have, but we're obviously working with them more in a higher capacity than we usually do.
Yeah.
Usually, it's like an MPD officer is on a task force with 1 person from every agency. Now it's each district has a crime suppression team, and there's federal agents from a bunch of agencies that ride with the crime suppression team. And so when they ride with this crime suppression team, when we stop somebody and we're done with our lawful, whatever we're doing, writing them a ticket, if we arrest them, they're in our custody, but like writing them a ticket, just stopping them and letting them go, whatever that is, once we're done with MPD stuff, then yeah, the federal agents have, are within their purview, their whatever their policies are to re-stop that person, even if it looks like a continuous thing, and do whatever they do.
They can really take the situation and just run with it, is what it
Yeah,
sounds
I
like.
mean, yeah, and then because they don't work for us, they don't work for the chief, they don't work for even the mayor. We can't interfere with what they're doing. If one of the ladies on the scene 2 nights ago was asking, like, basically assuming they're violating policy or whatever, and I'm like, look, like, I don't know what their policies are. If an officer sees them obviously violating someone's rights with using excessive force or unnecessary force, I would expect the officers to step in. But on like the administrative side of how to handle someone who's wanted for an immigration civil matter, like I can't tell the feds, like, no, you can't do that. No, you're doing it the wrong way because MPD doesn't do immigration enforcement. So we're the farthest people from experts on immigration enforcement. Um, we only know if it comes back as a criminal detainer for someone, then we can take action. If it's a civil immigration thing, then we don't even mess with it. So yeah, I mean, we have a limited of what we can do, similar to the max. You know, the mayor had the mayor's order saying the federal agents shouldn't be wearing masks or can't wear masks in the city. You know, they wear masks, so they don't work for the mayor, you know, as much as the mayor, you know, would like to ask them not to wear masks, they do what they do. And even if I did tell them to take the mask off, they didn't have to listen to me anyway, you know. So yeah, I mean that's kind of the dealio.
I think you're that. Anything else, Commissioner?
I just thank you for that, and also thank you for your the information you gave me earlier on the situation with the soccer field over at Oyster Avenue.
Oh, yeah,
I'll pass that back to the folks in the neighborhood. Thank you.
okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, like I said, I looked it up and I'm here 5 days a week at least and up until 8 p.m. and I've never heard that call. But like I said, I even looked it up and it at least reported to us it's not that often. So
That's helpful. Thank you.
yeah.
And I don't think it's probably best to belabor this point too much, but just because you brought it up, you said, I mean, there's federal agents that are at least in the vicinity of MPD officers on some calls. Is that something that's happening through collaboration, or are they just coincidentally in the same locations, or how is it that
No,
they knew where to
so
be?
well, the first month that the takeover happened, it was a little different. Now, it's morphed into they're actually riding with our officers in the crime suppression team. So they're partnering with them. They're backing them up. They're doing supplemental personnel for scenes. Most of the time, they're kind of there just to assist, and the MPD person is taking the lead. But no, they're riding with the MPD officers.
And is that at the discretion of the mayor, or is that some sort of federal official telling
No,
the
I think that was part of the
MPD?
mayor's order where it says MPD should work with the federal agencies. No, that's part of the mayor's
So the
order.
mayor's welcoming that. Okay, just okay. I wasn't sure if that was
I don't know about,
information that was coming from.
I don't know if she's welcoming it per se, but she's
Well,
aware.
she's not saying not to do that. She like there's no orders from the mayor saying
Correct, yeah.
you don't have to let anyone into your
The only
car.
thing I believe that the mayor's order was talking about was
Okay.
that about the immigration front. She didn't want us dealing with immigration front. Um,
Okay.
and then she wants the federal agents to wear masks. But yeah, I mean, I think she's aware that, you know, we have roll call with the federal agents and we go out and the crime suppression teams go out with them and do proactive police stuff. Because we try to leverage their resources that they have on the criminal side for things. If it's like
Okay.
testing equipment or databases or expertise in firearms or whatever it is in drugs. You know, the point is for us to leverage the federal government's resources to help with crime.
Okay, thank you for that. And just two more factual things. One, I think you answered this already, but in the event that you mentioned the other night, were there any injuries that you're aware of, or was the injury?
Yeah, no injuries to
Yeah, that's
MPD
good.
officers or anybody else that I'm aware of.
And I mean, because for this specific instance, I think it's helpful to know this, but also in general, I think it might be helpful. Like the original intent of trying to approaching those individuals in question, can you share what that was with
Yeah,
the
it
loitering?
was to address pretty much the number one complaint we get in 1C, which is those guys in the alleys. I mean, we get more citizens text tips, calls, even if you ask the bid, they get calls daily about it, about the
Yeah, I
guys
get
in
them
the
too.
alley. And we finally had enough resources to be able to address it. But yeah, the original intent was to deal with that, which was, you know, like I said, it was the number one concern. Even I get even more of those in the alley than drugs on Columbia Road for the past like few weeks. So it was
Okay.
like a major concern of some people, and that's why other people were upset because they were like, "Oh, I walk through that alley every day; it's not a big deal." But other people are calling every day or texting every day saying it is a big deal. So you know we can't ignore it. We have to address it eventually because we're here to try to help solve public safety issues. And that was a major public safety issue that's been brought to our attention for like 3 months now. And we finally were able to address it.
Okay, thank you for that. Um, yeah, so that's it. I mean, as we talked even last month, we know that there's concerns in the neighborhood just of, I mean, for me, it was usually reckless driving. I'm not sure what the concerns have been about sitting idly in the alley as far as safety. It was more of a nuisance issue, but this is still helpful context and glad no one was hurt as well. So,
Yeah.
all right. So yeah, appreciate that. Any other questions, Commissioner Balki? I think that does it for me.
That does it for me. In my questions, I sent you via email. I also mentioned porch pirates, package thefts.
Yeah.
Just in you, I don't expect you to have like stats at your fingertips, but that's just sort of a chronic problem in 1C, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even just say 1C. I would say the whole
Yeah.
city, especially as you get closer to holiday season where people are ordering more stuff on Amazon. It tends to increase around now once people start ordering things. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just an issue everywhere. We actually and sometimes it's odd because some people, even if a guy like comes on their porch and looks around, and like tries the door handle and then leaves, like they'll email the commander, Commander Connors. They'll be like, why don't you just call 911? Because then an officer can get there, he can get the footage from you, and we can get a report for unlawful entry or something. But we just had one today where the guy emailed the commander, and then we called him and took a report, and the guy had like a package already in his hand, and he entered someone else's porch looking for something else. So
Mhm.
when people have that, even if the guy doesn't take anything, I would still encourage them to call, send us the video footage from their Ring camera, their whatever cameras, uh,
Mhm.
because at the end of the day, it's probably a small number of people that are committing most of these
Yeah.
offenses.
I agree.
Mhm.
Kind of like the guy in Biltmore that we've identified. So and some of these guys too, like if there's package thieves, like they probably might also be wanted for burglary and breaking into people's houses, not just taking packages. So, yeah, I mean, it's a constant issue, um, everywhere. We try to address it, but yeah, I don't know when was the last time we did one of those bait packages things.
Yeah.
Um,
What I was asking about in like
yeah,
over Ward 5, I guess.
yeah, I have no idea. I don't know if they have these special like GPS thing. Like I don't know anything about it,
Hmm.
but I haven't heard of us doing that in a while.
Oh, thank you.
It looks like we have one hand from Brian from the bid to
Oh,
ask a question.
Brian, yeah.
Welcome.
Oh, hey, yeah, I just wanted to clarify and thank you, Captain Porter, for explaining all that. But the issues now, it's not just a nuisance, it's a sanitation issue, it's a safety issue.
Okay.
These guys are leaving trash and food and they're peeing in the corners and doing wheelies and zipping up and back and yeah, I mean it's annoying. I mean there is definitely a nuisance, but it's more than that. And they haven't we haven't seen any trace of them since Monday night.
Hmm.
So anyway,
I
just
appreciate
wanted to
that
clarify.
context. That's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, barring any further questions,
Mhm.
appreciate you being here tonight. That was a little bit unexpected update. I should have known that there was the full context, so I'll pay more attention
Oh,
for the
very
rest.
helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I'd rather give you guys more than less.
No, it's great. That's definitely helpful to understand some
It,
of the nuance of what's going on.
it helps paint the picture too. Um, it helps paint a picture of like, the broader context of things, rather than just like, we send people in and then people automatically assume it's like an immigration raid or something, and we're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, we've been getting calls about these guys forever, and, you know, not one time did someone call because they think they were illegal. They called because of all their behavior that they've been doing in the alley. And so we were there addressing the behavior, you know, and the task force people are who we happen to have that have the amount of resources available to actually handle it, you know? And so that's what ended up helping.
Yeah, and I appreciate hearing that. And also just I mean, we've talked about this before, the care that you're giving towards that, just because it's obviously complicated and it's also hard to get people to collaborate when they're fearing other things which are not getting fined, they're fearing deportation and sometimes deportation in really bad situations, which doesn't justify break handering, but I think offers a context to explain why it's so complicated and frustrating. So
Yeah.
really appreciate that. All right. Well, thanks again. Have a good evening. It's good to see
Thank
you.
you.
Cool. Yep, no problem. Have a good night.
Thanks. And the only other thing on our agenda tonight is a renewal for a tavern license. I don't have really anything to discuss. It used to be, I think apparently the Imperial's changed its official trade names. I didn't realize that, but
Yeah, the Imperial is owned by the guy who owns Jack Rose.
yeah,
And for whatever reason, the Imperial didn't make it. And it's my understanding that he still owns the tavern license and he's doing whatever is going to be done here, which I assume is something,
no change. Yeah.
sort of similarly, trying to attract the upscale alcoholic beverage consumer.
Yeah, that's what it seems. I mean, I've never heard of anything. I mean, I was mostly just curious what was going on with the
Yeah.
space. I hadn't heard in a while. Do you happen to know, like, I want to say two, no, this was must have been 2022 where
Mhm.
they applied for historic preservation of because they
Yeah.
wanted to do modifications to the roof, but I don't think
They
they ever made
they
that.
still have that. It's
Yeah,
it's like a kind of a tent kind of thing. I've actually been to birthday parties and stuff there, and they wanted, it's on the roof. You can see it from the ground. It's just this
yeah,
white thing. They wanted to put up this. Actually, I thought it was kind of attractive. This sort of prefabricated metal thing.
yeah,
Maybe a little bit like a, a streeter, cube.
yeah.
And apparently, the historic preservation people just said, no, we're not going to allow that. It doesn't fit. And it just kind of stalled there. And then I think the restaurant eventually went under, so it was kind of a
Yeah.
moot point.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Well, I have no further, action to take on that item, but hopefully whoever ends up managing the space does a good job with it because it's been sitting. It's like on that corner. There's a few things that's kind of like, it's been
Yeah.
like with the what's it
With
called?
the CVS shutting down right
CVS
on the
shutting down,
corner.
as well as the whatever it's called. I'm totally blanking the name. The place that's going to get potentially demolished.
Oh, the old alfresco
Yeah,
where
exactly.
that, I guess, 31 unit residential is going to go in. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of opportunities down there in that little corner of Southern Adams Morgan. We've got a lot of open space. I hope
Yeah,
it
it could be
builds.
interesting. Another one of the property owners for some of the so like was this before you joined again this year where he requested our ANC 1C support, which we ended up giving for I think an amendment to some of the zoning regulations for some of those properties for just what types of businesses can get in there. So
There was that was prior to me. I think it had something to do with there's covenants in that area because you're so close to Marie Reed.
yeah,
Certain things you can't do on that property because it's close to a school.
yeah. So I think they got a little bit of wiggle room. As far
Yeah.
as I know, I don't think it was a contested case or anything. So it wasn't like to put a strip club or a gas station
No,
or anything. I think it was just to like
a giant
allow.
head shop or something.
It was, I mean, for what I can remember, benign types of things that just were kind of oddly excluded from what was allowed. So
I heard talk about like an animal hospital or veterinarians or something like that. I don't know whatever happened to that.
yeah, that'll be interesting.
Being in that location.
Yeah, that was one of the things I remember discussing. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Hopefully the multiple businesses at that corner hopefully will come. Not our ward even, but across the street, I saw that Karen might be coming back, which would be great because their kitchen.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen that also.
Hopefully they can be the driver of change at the
They've
intersection.
been working on that for a while.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Anything else for tonight? All right. Well, meeting adjourned. Have a good night,
Thank you.
everybody. Thanks for being here. Talk to you later.
Much appreciated.